Yeah.
Do you have like a favorite psychologist or philosopher that really speaks to you in how you approach this whole holistic wellness thing?
That's a great question. I have a degree. My bachelor's degree is in psychology, and I've since gone on to do accreditation in some neuroscience modalities as well. But um, I think most people in my position would answer that question with Jung,
Hmm.
because there's a lot of overlap in some of what he says and came up with, and even things that we still practice from or practice from a spiritual side of things.
Yeah,
But I really don't have anyone that I could say is absolutely my favorite, because I have pulled so much from the different modalities that I've studied and trained in, um, that for me personally, there's no one uh, method that has worked for my own mental wellness, as well as kind of the patchwork quilt of pulling different um, methods and thoughts and influences into something that makes sense, and is highly individualized. So
mm,
there are modalities and methods and schools of thought that I am more qualified to practice, or and I have to walk a line there, because it's not a not like a psychiatry practice, right? It's so this informs my approach, but I'm not
mhm.
actually practicing
Yeah,
psychotherapy.
right,
I'm
right, right.
practicing something that approaches all of the bodies to help keep us in balance, so that we don't tend to be unwell mentally or physically or spiritually. And then I will refer people if need be. But yeah, I'm super passionate about psychology and neuroscience, neuroplasticity. Right now,
Mhm.
lately, I've been very, very into somatics, so that's butylamine, and that's the effect of body on our psychology, and how moving the body in particular, or touch, can work therapeutically for us in terms of our mental health. It's
Sure.
really, really good for trauma recovery in particular, which is huge. So
Mm. You mentioned something that I keyed in on because it's been something close to my life here recently, and you said things about balance,
mhm.
and that goes, I think, in hand with a holistic approach because there's so many. It's multifaceted, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and I was thinking about this the other day, and I shared my thoughts kind of publicly on a little short reel or whatever short form video. When we hear the word balance, right? I think most of what gets invoked in a person's mind when you think the word balance is you look at scales, right? It can go this way or that way, up or down, and it's dual things, right? Like there's, um, but I challenged that and I said, well, what if we look at it as a circular platform where it's multifaceted? There's, this end of it could tip more, but you can't necessarily put all your weight on the opposite end. You have to be nimble, and there has to be this fluidity and this flexibility. And part of what balance is knowing when to apply pressure and when to release,
Yeah.
when to relinquish, when to be not as heavy handed. And it's a constant thing because there's so many things going on in people's lives that uh, keep the balance off,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So I was going to ask you, like with regards to that, do you see that as an accurate representation of this balancing act that we're in? That it's
Hmm.
more multifaceted,
Yeah.
that you can't just think of it as one side or the other.
Yep. Absolutely. From a holistic perspective, balance is when all of your selves are in harmony. So even if nothing else, we just looked at the six that I talked about. That's six things that have to be in harmony and aligned for us to truly be well. And when they fall out of alignment is when we start having, disease or
Mm,
mental health problems, or what have you. crises of faith. And so definitely balance is in my perspective a lot more complicated than the scale analogy that you gave. There's really no way to kind of easily counterbalance one action with another without considering all of the little ripple effects that it has on lots of different parts of our life.
Mm.
Not just our bodies, but our lives. You know, if I give more attention to one thing in my life than another, when I'm spinning a lot of plates, things start to get wobbly. Something's gonna fall down. It just is what it is. Um, and it's very unrealistic, I think, to consider balance as being that linear.
Mhm.
It really is. I think circular is a good way of looking at it for sure. And I think that a lot of us mentally go there. Like I just said, spinning plates, we think about this concept of kind of balancing through spinning,
Yeah.
or juggling, you know,
Well,
circular movements. Balance
yeah.
is flow. It's not a scale.